Link from Tears of the Kingdom is an absolute demon. He can run, he can fight, he can climb, he can do a sick flip, and his face makes me giggle and kick my feet. But just how athletic is he? Well, I thought why not put him to the test in the Olympic Decathlon. 10 track and field events that involve running, jumping, and throwing. It tests every aspect of an athlete, and in fact, the winner of the event used to be called the world's greatest athlete. It was, of course, until breakdancing was introduced. I'm going to do my absolute best to simulate the events in Tears of the Kingdom, then score Link just how he would be in the real thing, then compare and compete against the decathlon that just happened at the Paris 2024 Olympics, to see if Link really could take home the gold. But anyway, let's get started with the first event. Probably the most straightforward event, the 100 meters is the true test of one's top speed, but also incorporates acceleration and reaction time. Now pretty much every event in the decathlon is to do with distance, and lucky for us, Tears of the Kingdom has a coordinate system. We're going to assume that 1 unit is 1 meter. There is a lot that backs this up, namely this minigame which is measured in meters and lines up with the units. I mean, it could be in feet, but that would make Link 1 foot 8 inches tall. I don't think so, man. So I think we can be pretty sure that it's in meters. But anyway, let's get to the start line. We're doing most of the events here in the Lomé Labyrinth Stadium with a crowd capacity of 0. We're doing stuff here for a few reasons. 1, it lines up with the coordinate lines. 2, it's nice and flat. And 3, it has this grid pattern which can help measure things. Each square is about 5 meters by 5 meters. We're going to start at the 4600 unit line and end here at the 4700 line, marked by these blue circles. Hopefully it's obvious, but the average result in a decathlon event is typically going to be a bit worse than in the real event, because decathlon athletes have to master 10 things and can't just specialize in one. For example, the world record in the 100 meters is 9.58 seconds, set by Usain Bolt, but the world decathlon record, or world decathlon best as it's called, is 10.12 seconds, set by Damian Warner, who is going to be competing against Link this year. So a good time in the actual 100 meters is about 9.9 seconds, but in the decathlon it's about 10.75, so that's what we're going to aim for. We're almost ready to start, but the final piece of the puzzle is the start of the race. Normally they say on your marks, set, and then shoot a gun which starts the race, but unfortunately, I live in England, we don't have guns, and knives aren't nearly as loud, so I'm gonna have to settle for the next best thing. 1 hour of silence occasionally interrupted by Pikmin. When the red Pikmin says Pikmin, the timer will start. Alright, here we go. Link crosses the line in 12.7 seconds. That is not very good. Comparing to the other athletes, yeah, we got the worst time by quite a lot. I think the problem is that Link's top speed is just very average, and not average for an athlete, but average for a normal man. His acceleration is probably the best on Earth, but he only reaches about 8 meters per second. In comparison, Usain Bolt reached 12.4 meters per second for his record. Bit of a side note, but obviously the Olympics has rules. Unfortunately, doping is illegal. And while anabolic steroids aren't an item in this game, speed elixirs are, so I'm not allowed to use those, and not allowed to use any other buff for that matter. The only buff I'm allowing myself to use is this extra stamina wheel that you might have noticed in the race, which you get from sleeping. I mean, this isn't doping, this is just getting a good night's sleep. The wheel is a one-time use, so it's not too big a deal. And I won't be able to do this every event because the decathlon takes place across 2 days, so I can get the sleep buff only twice. Here's the overall standings after event 1. Link's in last. Damian Warner's in the lead as we'd expect. This is his best event. You may notice we're ranked by points. Now, the calculation for the points is completely asinine, but I've made a spreadsheet that does it. Here's the formula if you're wondering. But yeah, last place with 520 points and 515 points behind. Yeah, lots of work to do. Event 2 is a long jump, nice and simple. We're aiming for a score of about 7.5 to 8 meters. To aid with measurements, we're going to be using these 5 boxes I stuck together. Each is about 2 meters long, and we're going to be taking off before this line on the floor, ensuring that no part of our foot is beyond it, as that results in a foul. We get 3 attempts, best score is what's counted. Let's go. Uh-oh. It was a pretty perfect takeoff, and we only went about 5 meters. I think most of you watching could do better than that, I'm serious. It's desperate times, so I'm gonna use desperate measures. The pot lid. When holding any type of shield, Link can do a front flip and land into a shield surf. This is basically a second jump without Link needing to touch the ground. This could really improve our score. Now, the ethics of this are, I'll admit, a little bit questionable, but I'm allowing it mainly because I want Link to win, but also because I can kind of justify it. First of all, the shield has no moving parts. It's just a slab of wood that, when held, compels Link to do a flip. Second of all, no part of Link or the shield touches the ground when doing the flip. He is still mid-air. And third, if we unequip the shield before landing, then the shield doesn't touch the ground at any point. It's basically a glorified mascot. I'm counting it. You can tell I made this video. But let's see how much our score improves. That is an absolutely incredible jump from Link. It's about 8.8 meters and... Okay, we have 1 chance left. We're going to have to play it safe. And there we go. Illegal jump with the shield gets us an incredible score of about 8.32 meters. It's an Olympic decathlon best, and we finish that event in first. Link has really redeemed himself, but I mean, he's still really... He's in 21st now. Link has a few different techniques for throwing items, so we're just going to pick the one that looks closest to the real thing. Again, it's impossible to be 100% accurate to the real throw. I'm trying my best. In shot put, you use one hand to propel the shot forward. You hold it close to your shoulder, then release. I think the closest to this is when Link throws a material, so that's what we're going to do. A shot put weighs about 7.26 kilograms now. For my American viewers, that's about 0.008 tons. So we're going to need to find a material that weighs similar, then use that as our shot. Now, spoiler alert, this doesn't really matter because Link throws every material the exact same distance, but this is more to show that Link could throw a real shot put this distance if he had one. I was going to go for this chunk of topaz because it's about twice the size of a shot put and over half the density, but unfortunately it explodes on impact, and electrocuting an official will definitely get Link disqualified. So we're going to go for this chunk of luminous rock. It's not quite as heavy as the topaz, but again, Link throws everything the same distance, and we concluded that the topaz was heavier than the shot put, so it is fine. Shot put is one of the lower scoring events in the decathlon, mainly because it's probably the only event that relies on strength rather than athleticism. So we're going to be aiming for something like 15.5 meters. Oh my god, that went far. 35 meters! The world record was 23. The next closest was 16.6. 2,000 points! I'm not even going to do the last 2 attempts. We've gone from 21st to 1st, and we have a lead of 838 points. Why didn't Link just enter the shop? Our lead is insane, but looking at the upcoming events, it really might not last. Okay. I really don't think this one's going to go well. High jump involves jumping over a bar such that your body doesn't knock it over. The higher the bar, the higher your score. Now normally, competitors employ a strategy known as the Fosbury flop, which involves jumping over the bar back first. Since I still feel a bit bad about using the shield in the long jump, I've banned myself from using it in this, which is really going to hurt our score. I found 2 strategies that we could use for our high jump. The first is, well, just to jump. Link's standard jump is actually really high, but this does not translate to a good high jump score, unfortunately. So we're going to use the second strategy, which is Link's backflip. Because if we start the flip at the right distance, such that the bar is roughly here when Link is in the second part of his flip, we could get a much better score than just the jump. Time to head to our arena. I'm very proud of this. Look at this. It's beautiful. Unfortunately, Link doesn't have collision with the bar. I mean, we could have used one of these pieces of wood, but the hitboxes on it are really weird, so I've decided to use this, which is just a weapon, which is why he doesn't have collision with it. So we're just going to call a jump a foul if any part of Link's body goes through the bar. I've set the bar at 1.53 meters for our first event. It was meant to be 1.5, but it's very hard to be accurate in this game. We get 3 attempts at each height. If we clear it, then we get another 3 attempts at the next height. But anyway, let's go. It's hard to tell if Link cleared it in real time, so we're going to have to go frame by frame. And by the looks of it, I think we're good. Our main problem is Link's arm here. We'd be able to go much higher if we could just tell him to lift his arm up, but he doesn't listen to me. From the frame by frame, you might think, well, Link is at his highest point in the first part of the flip, why don't you start a bit closer to the bar? But remember, his whole body needs to get over, and at the start, Link's head will hit the bar. I'm pretty sure that this is the best place for us to start our flip. Maybe I'm wrong. Feel free to have a go yourself. So we cleared that. I'm going to raise the bar a little bit. I don't think we'll be able to get much higher. We're now at 1.62 meters. Frame by frame tells us that this is just about good enough, and I think this is the absolute highest we can get. If Link just kept his arm by his side, I think we could get at least 15 centimeters higher, which corresponds to about 140 points. Link's flop technique definitely needs some work. Given Link's inability to do the proper technique, this is a pretty good score, but in the decathlon it really isn't. We finished last in that event by quite some way, and it's our lowest point score yet. Luckily, our Herculean shot put means we're still in first, but our gap dropped by 370 points. The first event showed that Link isn't very good at sprinting, so the 400 meters might not go our way. Because Link has incredible stamina, I think longer distance races will serve us well, but 400 meters isn't really long enough. It's still basically a sprint race. Though I think Link will do slightly better, as his pace will be the same as his 100 meters because he sprints at a fixed speed, and the other competitors will be a little under their 100 meter pace, because they're human. The finish line is in the same position as the 100 meters, but we're going to start here. Here's the measurements of the track, by the way. I can't believe I'm doing this again. The measurements I've done are from the middle line on the ground, so we're going to make sure that Link stays on the outside of it, so he runs at least 400 meters. At first I was going to measure from the inside line, but then Link would have to be running over these little obstacles to try and get close to the line as possible, which is just kind of annoying. And he crosses the line in 53.56, which is last out of the people who actually started the race. We're still first overall, but our gap has dropped even more. Now we're just over 200 points ahead. We were 800 ahead just 2 events ago. That's the end of day 1. We're halfway through the decathlon. We can now go to sleep again and get our extra stamina wheel, which we will use in the next event, the 110 meter hurdles. Bit of a bizarre event, this one. This is basically the 100 meter sprint with a bunch of obstacles to jump over. There's 10 in total. This is the most Ninja Warrior event in the decathlon. Each hurdle is 106.7 centimeters tall. Now for my American viewers, that's about a 1600th of a mile. Obviously the goal is to get to the end as fast as you can while jumping over the hurdles, but it's not illegal to knock hurdles over, though they are weighted such that doing so would be detrimental to your time. Before we can start though, we need to make a hurdle. I've gone for a design of 2 wooden beams on top of a flat piece of wood, which makes the height of our hurdle just over what they would be in the real thing. Lucky for us, Link's vertical running jump height is about 1.45 meters, which is incredible, which means he should be able to clear the hurdles without much of a problem. The first hurdle is placed 13.72 meters from the start, then one every 9.14 meters, and a final stretch of 14.02 meters. What a criminal event. It's a sprint again, we know the drill. Link, not very quick. We might lose our first place here. And I'm not doing the Pikmin thing anymore. I'm just going to start the timer 0.3 seconds before I start running. And before you say anything, that's the worst reaction time out of everyone. Actively putting Link at a disadvantage because I literally wasted 5 minutes on the start line doing this last time. It's one of the worst things I've ever done. 15.16 is way better than I thought, but it's still last by just 0.01 seconds. Ugh. We've basically lost our gap. It's now all to play for, and we'll need to discuss our approach for the next event. First throwing event of the Decathlon, and what's cool about this one is that we can't really do it. In discus, you hold the disc in one hand, then spin your body in the throw. Link also doesn't really throw anything that looks like a discus, so this is a bit of a predicament. The throw type I've gone for is what Link does when he throws a sword, because he uses one hand and spins it like a discus. But now we have to make a convincing discus, and I've done my best here. I've attached a shield to a sword. Yeah, it has a handle, but it's fine. Again, this is definitely heavier than an actual discus. An actual discus isn't actually very heavy at all. Obviously, we aren't throwing it how athletes would, but I can't find anything that says it's illegal. I think it's just an inefficient way of throwing. We're looking for 50 meters, anything less, and we're probably losing our first place. .5 meters is not quite what we're looking for, but this is the first event where we didn't place first or last. Let's go. I mean, it's close to last, but that doesn't matter. What does matter, though, is that Link has slipped down to third. We're behind Leo Neugebauer of Germany and Canadian Damian Warner. What's the next event? Oh. Next up is pole vault. How do we do pole vault? I don't know. This one involves a pole and, well, you do this. It's not even in the London 2012 game, which is where I've been getting my footage. That's how rogue of an event it is. Obviously, there are pole-like objects in the game, but they don't have collision with anything, and Link can't propel himself in any way that isn't with a rocket, which is probably not allowed. Genuinely, we might just have to do the high jump again, which is not good considering our high jump was bad in the first place. But since pole vault involves a prop, I'm allowing myself to use the shield jump again, but genuinely I don't think it's going to help. This is just damage control. Pole vault has the same setup as high jump. Get your whole body over the stick, don't knock it over, except the scores we're looking for are significantly higher than that of the high jump, about 5 meters, which is up here by the way. But let's see how much better we can get with the shield. Setting up the pole vault has been a nightmare because when you do the shield jump, you have to press A, which makes Link pick up the spear, so I had to go and find another weapon to make Link's inventory full, but then I went too far away and the whole setup despawned. And then when you do the jump, the camera automatically turns to behind Link, which means checking if he touched the bar is really hard, even with the frame by frame. Anyway, we're ready, and the bar is set at 2 meters. Okay, pretty obvious that Link has cleared this one. The optimal point for Link to cross over the bar is probably here when his back is parallel to the ground. Any later, and again, his arm sort of ruins it. I'm going to do a pretty big jump up for the next height. I've set it to be about 2.5 meters. If we do the measurements, it's actually 2.56. This is a pretty crazy jump to go from 2.0 to 2.56. In reality, you'd go maybe 10 centimeters at a time, because if you go too high and can't do it, that's it, you're out and you can't go back down. I'm just doing this because looking at the footage of the last jump, I think this is about as high as Link can go. Also, I'm pissed off. First jump is hard to see, but I don't think we've cleared it. Link's ponytail is behind the pole here, so I think it's passed through it. We definitely started the shield jump a bit late there. Second is much better, but look what I mean by how hard it is to tell. The camera moving on its own is so annoying. It is extremely close as to whether or not Link's elbow is touched here, because it just so happened to line up with the goddamn sparkle of the spear. It's literally made of wood. Why is it I think he has cleared it just about, but we've got one more attempt to get a clearer picture. No sparkle this time, and yep, that looks good. 2.56 is clear. I think we could maybe get another 5 centimeters or so, but we're just going to stick with this. 2.56 is really bad for the pole vault. It nets us an embarrassing 255 points. That's our lowest so far. No real fault of our own since Link doesn't have the means to do it, but we actually didn't do the worst. 3 athletes failed to clear that opening height, which means they get no points for this event, including, in a shocking turn of events, second place Damian Warner. Getting 0 points in an event pretty much makes getting a medal impossible, and because of this, Warner decided not to take part in the final 2 events, which is really unfortunate, but a big chance for everyone else considering he was one of the favourites. And while we are really low down and 800 points behind first, we can still bring it back, as the final 2 events are 2 of Link's only good ones. Another throwing event, this one involves lobbing a big spear, obviously, as far as you can. Tears of the Kingdom has spears and a throwing stance very similar to Javelin, so nice and simple. You may notice Link is holding it with 2 hands, which you can't do, you're only meant to throw it with 1, but it's pretty clear this is just used so Link can hold it. When he actually throws it, he removes the hand before releasing the Javelin, so I think it's fine. We would be looking for about 65 to 70 meters, but since we're so far behind, we kinda need to be breaking the Decathlon best. We're going to be throwing from the 4600 line and then measuring from the point of the Javelin. It looks very decent, and it is 81 meters. That is a world decathlon best. I'm not going to do a super specific measurement, as it would only be the difference of a few points, but that is an incredible score. This is absolutely what we're looking for. We have 2 more throws to try and get it even higher. Second throw is about the same. I tried to release it from a different angle, but looking back, it was literally exactly the same. It was not very smart from me. And our third throw is about 78, but that is more than okay. We wanted a decathlon best, and that's what we got. 1,058 points for that, up to 10th. 1 event to go, we're 423 points behind first. We really closed the gap there, since Neugebauer only got 687 points, now overtaken by Marcus Ruth, who got 842. Getting a medal is definitely possible here, but we're probably going to need another decathlon best in the final event. The 1500 meters is our final event, and I really think Link could do well here. Our 3 other running events did not go well, but this one is very different, as it's the only one that isn't classed as a sprint. Link's stamina is definitely one of his best qualities. He can sprint full out for about 10 seconds and regains all his stamina after a light jog for about 3.5 seconds. This means he's going to be running close to his 100 meter pace for the whole 1500 meters, and while his 100 meter pace isn't great in the context of 100 meters, it is very good in the context of a 1500 meters. But just how good? Decathletes are normally not great at this race because it's so different, and remember they're doing this off the back of 4 events in the same day and 5 events the day before. So normally they don't go under 4 minutes, and some athletes will be closer to 5 minutes. What I'm trying to say is that this is possible. I've been trying to figure out the best way to do this and make it exciting. I can't show footage of the real race as it's copyright and I'll be killed on the spot. So I'm going to tell you the results of the race, then Link will know what he needs to do to win. Just imagine Link's races after everyone else's. So here it is. The winner of just the race was Niklas Kaul with 4 minutes and 15 seconds. Marcus Ruth only needed to beat Neugebauer to stay in first, which he did with a time of 4 minutes 39. So we need 1,107 points in this race to get first place overall. We need a time of 3 minutes and 39.8 seconds. A completely insane 60 seconds faster than Ruth. Well, we know now what we need to do. It's the final race. Everyone say good luck, Link. We're off on our 1.5 laps of the Lomé Labyrinth Stadium. You may notice the bridge I just crossed. That's so Link doesn't have to pull out his paraglider midway through the race. I had to stick a dragon part to it so it wouldn't despawn when I get to the other side of the track. Imagine my shock when I tried this race about 10 minutes before and the bridge just vanished. A minute into the race, here's how far ahead Link would be at this point if he were taking part. He's in a very good position. Remember, 3 minutes, 39 seconds is our goal to get the win. Just over 2 minutes in and a storm has hit the track. Is it a classic bit of pathetic fallacy? An incredible gap Link has made, but is it enough? It's time for the home straight. Ladies and gentlemen, he's done it. Link is the Olympic Decathlon gold medalist. It's not just a decathlon best, it's a world record in the 1500 meters. Why didn't he just enter this in the shop? What a roller coaster. We went from last to first, had 5 awful events, and then pulled it back in the final 2. So yes, Link could win the Olympic Decathlon with a little bit of haggling here and there, but that makes up for the fact that there were a couple that Link physically couldn't do with the resources available to him. And anyway, thank you very much for watching.